Have you ever felt a strange kind of pushback when you start to grow? A subtle resistance from the world around you, just as you begin to stand taller. It's not a loud declaration of war, but a quiet, chilling disapproval. You share a new idea, a bold ambition, or a personal breakthrough, and instead of encouragement, you are met with a deafening silence or a skeptical stare. It's a lonely feeling, making you question if your growth is actually a transgression. This experience can be deeply confusing. You believe you are on the right path, striving to become a better, stronger version of yourself. You are putting in the work, facing your fears, and expanding your mind. Yet, the friction you encounter seems to punish you for the very effort you are making. It's as if your personal evolution is an inconvenience to others, a disruption to a comfortable order that you never agreed to uphold in the first place. The people who react this way are often not your sworn enemies. They can be friends, family, or colleagues. Their resistance comes in the form of backhanded compliments, passive aggression, or a sudden, inexplicable distance. They might say, "Oh, that's interesting," with an emphasis that communicates the opposite. Or they might subtly sabotage your confidence, making you doubt the validity of your own path. It's a quiet war waged with words and whispers. You start to internalize their reactions. You wonder, am I being arrogant? Am I leaving people behind? Am I the problem? This doubt is a powerful seed. It can cause you to shrink back, to dim your own light, and to apologize for the space you are beginning to take up in the world. You might even start to believe that fitting in is more important than standing out, that the comfort of the crowd is safer than the solitude of the peak. This is a pain that the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche understood deeply. He saw this dynamic not as a simple personality clash, but as a fundamental conflict in the human spirit. It is the friction between those who dare to create their own values and those who passively accept the values given to them. It is the eternal struggle between the powerful, creative life force and the forces that seek to tame it and level it. He identified a hidden poison in the human heart, a resentment that the weak feel towards the strong. But weak and strong for Nietzsche were not about physical power or social status. It was about the state of one's soul. The strong mind is the one that says yes to life, that embraces challenge, and that grows in response to hardship. The weak spirit is one that says no, that fears change, and that resents anyone who reminds them of their own stagnation. So the question we are truly asking is not just, why do they dislike me? The deeper, more vital question is, how do I understand this resistance without letting it stop me? How do I continue to grow when the world seems to want me to stay small? Finding the answer requires us to look not at the attacks themselves, but at the source from which they spring. It requires a radical shift in perspective. To truly grasp this, we need a way to see the world differently. We need a guiding metaphor that can illuminate this hidden psychological landscape. Imagine that your potential, your mind, your very spirit is a garden, and in the center of this garden, you are tasked with cultivating a single, unique tree. This tree is your life's work. It represents everything you could become if you gave yourself permission to grow without limits. In the beginning, your tree is just a sapling. It's fragile but full of promise. You water it with knowledge, you feed it with experience, and you protect it from the harshest elements. As it grows, it becomes a reflection of you. Its branches twist in the direction of your curiosities, its leaves take on the color of your passions, and its trunk thickens with your resilience. This tree is unlike any other tree in the world. It is uniquely yours. But your garden does not exist in a vacuum. It is surrounded by other gardens. And as your tree grows taller, stronger, and more vibrant, something strange begins to happen. From the neighboring plots, you start to feel a cold wind. You hear whispers carried on the breeze. Small, sharp stones begin to land in your perfect patch of grass, thrown from unseen hands. The very existence of your magnificent tree has started to disturb your neighbors. This is where the common trap is set. Your first instinct is to look at your tree and wonder if it is the problem. You see the stones, you feel the disapproval, and you think, maybe my tree is too tall, maybe its leaves are too bright, maybe its shape is too strange. You start to believe that the pain you are feeling is a direct consequence of your tree's unconventional growth. You mistake the symptom for the cause. This is the moment of temptation, the temptation to conform. The idea enters your mind. If I just trimmed my tree to look like theirs, the stones would stop. If I cut it down to a reasonable height, the whispers would cease. You start to see your own unique creation not as a source of pride, but as a source of conflict. The desire for peace, for an end to the hostility, becomes overwhelming. This flawed solution is an act of self-betrayal disguised as social grace. By cutting down your tree, you are not just trimming branches, you are severing parts of your own soul. You are sacrificing your potential for the comfort of those who refuse to cultivate their own. You are agreeing to live in a barren land just so your light doesn't reveal their emptiness. It is a peace bought at the price of your own vitality. Why is this trap so effective? Because it plays on our deep-seated human need for belonging. We are social creatures, and the fear of ostracism is a powerful motivator. The pain of being misunderstood can feel greater than the quiet satisfaction of being true to oneself. So we consider the axe. We consider reducing ourselves to a version that is more palatable, more average, and therefore less threatening to the established order. Think about a time you downplayed an achievement to make someone else feel comfortable, or a time you held back a strong opinion to avoid making waves. That is the small version of taking the axe to your tree. Each time we do this, we communicate to ourselves that the approval of others is more valuable than our own integrity. We reinforce the belief that our growth must be limited by the insecurities of those around us. The tragic irony is that even if you cut your tree down, the satisfaction you grant your neighbors is fleeting. Their problem was never your tree. Their problem was their own neglected garden. Once your tree is gone, their gaze will simply fall upon their own barren soil, and their bitterness will remain, looking for a new target. You will have sacrificed your masterpiece for a moment of peace that was never yours to give. This is the path of resentment turned inward. You begin to resent your own potential for causing you this trouble in the first place. You become your own jailer, policing your own thoughts and ambitions to ensure they never grow too tall again. This is the death of the strong mind, not by external attack, but by a slow, methodical suicide of the spirit. It's the ultimate victory for the forces of mediocrity. The flawed solution promises safety but delivers stagnation. It promises belonging but delivers a profound sense of inner loneliness. Because now, not only are you misunderstood by others, you are no longer understood by yourself. You have silenced the most authentic part of you, and in the quiet that follows, you can hear only the echo of what you could have been. The garden is quiet, but it is no longer alive. So you stand there with the axe in your hand. The pressure is immense. The world is telling you that your growth is an act of aggression. Your mind is telling you that conformity is the only path to peace. Every fiber of your being wants the conflict to end. This is the critical moment. This is the turning point where you either surrender to the world's gravity or learn to fly. Before you swing, you must realize something crucial. The tools of your neighbors, the stones of criticism, the winds of disapproval, are fundamentally different from the tool in your hand. Theirs are tools of destruction aimed outward. The axe is a tool of creation and shaping, but if you use it in response to them, you are using it for destruction aimed inward. You are playing their game on their terms in your own sacred space. This path, the path of shrinking, feels logical. It feels like de-escalation. It feels like the mature, responsible thing to do, but it is a trap built on a lie. The lie is that your strength is the problem. The lie is that your light is an offense. The world does not need less of your light. It is that very light that is needed to show the way out of the darkness. The pain of their resentment is real, but the solution is not to become resentful yourself, resentful of your own gifts. It is to understand the nature of their ailment so profoundly that it no longer has power over you. It is to see their stones not as an indictment of your tree, but as a cry of pain from their own barren ground. This requires a pivot, a turn away from self-doubt and towards a deeper understanding. You've been staring at your tree, wondering what's wrong with it. You've been looking at the axe, contemplating self-reduction. But now, for the first time, you must do something different. You must look past your own garden fence. You must truly, deeply, and compassionately observe the gardens of those who throw the stones. What do you see there? What is the state of their own trees? There in the neighboring plots, you do not see magnificent, thriving trees that are simply different from yours. You see neglect. You see gardens that are untended, soil that is dry and cracked. You see trees that are stunted, uniform, and choked by weeds. You see gardeners who are not holding watering cans or pruning shears, but are sitting idly, holding only stones in their hands. And in that moment, the entire dynamic shifts. A new thought arrives, a turning point of profound clarity. This is the wisdom that Nietzsche offers us, not as a weapon, but as a shield. It is the key that unlocks you from the prison of other people's opinions. It is a truth so powerful it can transform your entire relationship with the world and with yourself. Here is the pivot, the revolutionary idea that changes everything. You must put down the axe. You must turn away from your own beautiful tree for a moment and look at the hands of your neighbors. You must see their stones for what they are, not a judgment on your height, but a lament for their own lack of growth. You realize they are not attacking your success. They are screaming in the pain of their own failure. This leads us to the central thesis of our journey, the great realization. The resistance you face is not a sign of your weakness, but a reflection of the light you cast on the shadows others are afraid to leave. Your tree is not the source of their anger. Your tree is the mirror in which they see their own neglected garden, and they hate the reflection. They throw stones at the mirror, hoping to break it. Friedrich Nietzsche called this phenomenon ressentiment. It's a French word for a specific kind of bitterness. It is the resentment of the powerless. Unable to create value for themselves, they find their only sense of identity and superiority in negating, criticizing, and tearing down the values of the strong. They define themselves not by what they love and build, but by what they hate and destroy. The gardener with the barren plot does not think, "I must water my own tree." That would require effort, patience, and confronting their own neglect. It is far easier to think, "That tall tree next door is arrogant, it's unnatural, it's unfair." This relabels their envy as righteous judgment. It transforms their personal failing into a moral crusade against you. It is a sophisticated, psychological defense mechanism against the pain of their own mediocrity. So you must understand this with every fiber of your being. Their criticism is not about you. It is a confession. When someone tells you that you are too ambitious, they are often confessing, "My own lack of ambition frightens me." When they say you are too intense, they are confessing, "I am afraid of my own muted feelings." Their words are a map of their own limitations, not yours. This realization is liberating. It drains the poison from their attacks. Their stones are no longer heavy with judgment. They are light as air, hollow expressions of a pain that has nothing to do with you. You are simply the backdrop against which their own inner drama is playing out. This frees you from the obligation to react, to defend, or to shrink. You are no longer a participant in their game. You are just an observer. The real work, then, is not to build higher walls to protect your garden. It is not to start throwing stones back in retaliation. That would mean you have descended to their level and abandoned your own noble task. The real work is to turn back to your tree, pick up your watering can, and get back to the sacred act of cultivation. Your greatest response is to simply keep growing. Now your perspective is completely new. The stones are no longer a source of pain, but a source of information. Each stone that lands is a confirmation that your tree is growing tall. It is a sign that your light is reaching dark places. The resistance becomes a compass, telling you that you are on the right path. The very thing that was meant to stop you now becomes your fuel. You no longer feel anger or resentment towards your neighbors. Instead, you might feel a strange, distant sense of pity. You see them trapped in a prison of their own making, so focused on your garden that they have forgotten their own. Their sky is filled with the shadow of your tree, but only because they are not looking up at the sun. You are free, and you can see the bars of their cages. The pivot is complete. You have moved from a position of wounded defense to a position of profound, unshakable strength. This strength doesn't come from fighting. It comes from understanding. You have decoded the language of resentment and it no longer holds any power. You are immune. Now, you can finally begin the real work of becoming who you are meant to be, without apology and without hesitation. This wisdom allows you to re-engage with the world in a new way. You can listen to criticism without being defined by it. You can separate the signal from the noise. Some feedback might be valuable, like a friend telling you about a caterpillar on a leaf of your tree. But the stones of pure resentment are just noise. You learn to tell the difference between a helpful gardener and someone who just wants to see your garden burn. The desire to cut down your tree was the desire to solve an external problem with an internal sacrifice. The new path is to solve an internal problem, your reaction to criticism, so that external problems lose their power. You are no longer trying to change the world's weather. You are simply growing a tree so strong that it can withstand any storm. The focus of control has moved from the outside world to your inner world. So you stand in your garden, no longer a victim but a master. The axe is gone, replaced by the tools of cultivation. The sounds from next door are just background noise, like the chatter of birds or the rustling of leaves. Your attention is fully and joyfully on your singular task, helping this magnificent, unique being of a tree reach its fullest expression. The game has changed because you decided to stop playing. This pivot isn't just a clever mind trick. It is the adoption of a worldview that Nietzsche called the master morality. The master creates their own values out of a powerful sense of self. The slave morality, born of ressentiment, reacts and negates. It says no to what is different. By choosing to cultivate your garden no matter what, you are choosing to be a creator, not a reactor. You are choosing the path of the master. With this newfound clarity, we can now dissect the wisdom and see how it works in practice. We can illuminate the dark corners of this psychological dynamic. We will explore the different forms the thrown stones take, the different poisons the resentful mind uses, and the different ways your growing tree will be tested. Understanding the enemy's tactics is the final step to rendering them completely powerless. Let's first examine the shadow of comparison. Your tree does not grow with malicious intent. It simply grows towards the sun. But in doing so, it inevitably casts a shadow. For the person standing in that shadow, it can feel like a personal attack. They do not see the light you are reaching for. They only feel the darkness you have cast upon their own position. Your success becomes a painful reminder of their own inaction. The person trapped in this shadow has two choices. They can step out of the shadow and find their own patch of sunlight. This means starting the hard work of tilling their own soil, of watering their own seed. Or they can stay in the shadow and curse the tree for being so tall. The path of ressentiment is always the second choice. It is the easier, more passive path. It requires no work, only blame. So when you hear the criticism, you make it look so easy. Or it must be nice to have all that talent, recognize it for what it is. It is the language of the shadow. It is an attempt to dismiss your hard work, your discipline, and your sacrifice. They need to believe you have some unfair advantage, because the alternative is to admit that they have the same sun and the same soil, but have chosen not to plant. Your response is not to argue. It is not to list your struggles and prove your effort. That is engaging with the shadow on its own terms. Your response is to simply keep reaching for the sun. The taller your tree grows, the more undeniable its existence becomes. You don't prove your hard work with words. You prove it with the magnificent result that no one can deny. Your tree is your argument. Next, let's look at the poison of resentment. This is more active than the passive shadow. This is when the neighboring gardener, consumed by bitterness, decides to actively harm your garden. They can't build their own tree, so they try to poison the roots of yours. In life, this is the spread of rumors, the subtle act of sabotage, or the constant, dripping criticism designed to erode your confidence. The poisoner believes that if they can make your tree sick, their own withered sapling will look healthy by comparison. It is a logic of relativity. They are not trying to rise to your level, they are trying to drag you down to theirs. This is the heart of slave morality in Nietzsche's terms. It cannot create, it can only react. It says, what is good, not you. How do you protect your tree from this poison? You cannot inspect every drop of water for venom. The protection comes from the health of the tree itself. A tree with deep roots and a strong trunk can withstand a certain amount of poison. In human terms, this means cultivating such a strong sense of your own worth and purpose that the poison of gossip or slander cannot find purchase in your soul. Your self-worth must come from the act of cultivation itself, not from the approval of the neighboring gardens. You must find joy in the watering, in the pruning, in the simple, daily act of tending to your own growth. When your validation is internal, the external attacks of the poisoner become irrelevant. They are pouring poison into soil that is already so rich it neutralizes it on contact. Finally, let's examine the most common and perhaps most insidious attack, the call to mediocrity. This is not as aggressive as poison or as bitter as the shadow. It is often disguised as friendly advice. It is the plea from the crowd for you to be normal. The other gardeners don't throw stones. They wave and smile and say, "Why don't you grow a nice, simple oak tree like the rest of us?" This call is seductive because it speaks to our desire to belong. The herd offers warmth and safety. To be one of us is a powerful lure. They say, "Your strange tree makes us uncomfortable. It makes us question our own choices. Please, for our sake, be like us. Rejoin the flock." They are asking you to sacrifice your individuality on the altar of their comfort. Nietzsche called this the herd morality. The herd values what is safe, what is predictable, and what is useful for the collective. The highest virtue is not excellence, but obedience. The highest good is not growth, but the absence of disruption. The strong mind, the overman or Ubermensch in his philosophy, is by definition a threat to this herd morality because they create their own values beyond good and evil. To resist the call to mediocrity, you must fall in love with your own uniqueness. You must see your tree's strange branches and vibrant leaves not as flaws, but as its defining features. Your weirdness is your signature. Your unconventional path is your masterpiece. To trade that for a generic, round tree would be the greatest of tragedies. You must have the courage to be disliked. So the shadow teaches you to be grounded in your work. The poison teaches you to be grounded in your self-worth. And the call to mediocrity teaches you to be grounded in your own unique vision. Each form of resistance, when understood correctly, does not weaken your tree. It forces you to grow deeper roots, a stronger trunk, and more brilliant leaves. The opposition becomes a tool for your own evolution. Think of the weightlifter. Does the weightlifter hate the weight for being heavy? No. The heaviness of the weight is the very thing that creates the strength. The resistance is the point. The stones, the poison, and the calls for conformity are the weights that your spirit must lift to become strong. Without resistance, there is no growth. There is only the slow, comfortable atrophy of potential. This understanding removes the emotional charge from these encounters. When a colleague makes a cynical remark about your new project, you no longer feel anger. You simply see a person who is afraid to build something of their own. You see a gardener with a barren plot. This clear sight gives you the freedom to respond with grace, or not to respond at all and simply return to your work. The strong mind, in Nietzsche's view, is not a mind that crushes others. It is a mind that is so absorbed in its own creative task, its own growth, that it simply doesn't have time for the petty dramas of resentment. It is a spirit that is constantly overflowing, giving its gift to the world not out of a sense of duty, but out of a surplus of its own vitality. It grows because it must. Let us be clear, this is not a license for arrogance or for cruelty. It is the opposite. True strength has no need to prove itself by diminishing others. The gardener of the great tree does not mock the neglected gardens. They are too busy tending to their own. Arrogance is a sign of insecurity, a trait of the resentful mind that needs to feel superior. The truly strong mind is beyond comparison. When you stop fighting their battles, you reclaim an enormous amount of energy. Think of all the mental space you have wasted rehearsing arguments, feeling hurt, or trying to win the approval of those who will never give it. Now, all of that energy can be redirected. It can be poured back into your soil, watering the roots of your tree, pushing it ever higher into the sky. The ultimate goal is to reach a state of sovereign indifference, not a cold indifference, but a warm, creative focus. You wish them no ill will. You simply do not allow them to occupy space in your head. Your garden is your world. Your tree is your focus. Their opinions, their stones, their poisons are part of a different reality that you are no longer tuned into. You have changed the channel. This illumination is not just about understanding others. It is about forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself for all the times you shrank. Forgiving yourself for the times you considered the acts. You didn't know then what you know now. You were reacting to pain in a human way. Now, armed with this wisdom, you can make a different choice. You can choose growth. You can choose life. The weak person hates the strong mind because the strong mind is a living, breathing testament to a potential they were too afraid to claim. Your very existence is a song they have forgotten the words to. They don't hate you. They hate the song because it reminds them that they have chosen to remain silent. They are haunted by the ghost of the person they could have become. This is the deepest truth of the matter. The conflict is not between you and them. It is between them and their own unrealized self. You are just the unfortunate trigger. A person who is joyfully and diligently tending their own thriving garden has no time and no reason to throw stones at yours. They are too busy celebrating their own growth. Resentment is always, and without exception, the confession of an empty garden. This understanding allows for a powerful transformation. The hate you receive is no longer a personal wound. It becomes data. It becomes a diagnostic tool. The more intense the irrational resistance from a particular person, the more profound their own inner lack must be. This depersonalizes the attack and allows you to observe it with the detached curiosity of a scientist. Consider the sun. It shines on everyone. It does not withhold its light from those who curse it or hide from it. It simply shines. The strong mind aspires to this state. It radiates its energy, its ideas, its joy, not as a performance for others, but as a natural consequence of its own internal combustion. To shine is its nature. Whether others use that light to grow or to cast shadows is their choice, not the sun's responsibility. So the next time you feel the sting of resentment, perform this mental shift. See the thrown stone. Feel its intended impact. Then in your mind's eye, see the barren garden it came from. See the neglected sapling. See the gardener with idle hands and a heart full of envy. The stone will lose its weight. The sting will fade. And you will be left with a quiet resolve to go and water your tree. This is not about winning an argument. It's about making the argument irrelevant. It's about elevating yourself to a level of being where those lower-level conflicts can no longer reach you. You are not on the battlefield anymore. You are on the mountaintop, focused on the sky. The battles in the valley below are distant and faint and have nothing to do with your ascent. The world is full of people who will tell you to be realistic, but realistic is often just a code word for mediocre. It is the justification the herd uses to stay in the comfortable pasture. To have a strong mind is to be an idealist in the best sense of the word, to hold an ideal for yourself, and to have the courage to strive for it, even when the world tells you it's impossible. Your uniqueness is not a liability. It is your gift to the world. A forest with only one type of tree is not a healthy forest. The ecosystem needs variety. It needs the tall pines, the sprawling oaks, the delicate birches. Your strange, unique tree is a necessary part of the world's beauty. By cultivating it, you are not just serving yourself. You are contributing something to the world that no one else can. Do not be afraid of the solitude that sometimes comes with growth. The eagle flies alone. The lion hunts alone. The innovator thinks alone. There are heights of the mind and spirit where the crowd cannot follow. This solitude is not a punishment. It is the price of admission to these higher realms. It is in this sacred silence that you can finally hear your own voice. The ultimate act of strength is to transform the poison into medicine, to take the bitterness of the world and use it as fertilizer for your own soul, to see every attack not as a wound but as a lesson. This is the alchemy of the strong spirit. It takes the lead of resentment and transforms it into the gold of wisdom. This is the power that Nietzsche celebrated. The weak resent the strong mind because it is free. Free from the need for approval, free from the fear of judgment, free from the poison of resentment. This freedom is terrifying to someone who lives in a psychological cage. Your very being is a reminder that the door to their own cage is unlocked. They hate you because you force them to realize they are their own jailer. Remember the gardener. They are not defined by their neighbors. They are defined by their relationship with their tree. Their joy comes from the growth they foster. Their identity is rooted in the creative act. Everything else is secondary. This single-minded focus is their shield, their sword, and their salvation. It is the source of their power and their peace. This entire journey of understanding is about reclaiming your power. Not power over others, but power over yourself. The power to define your own worth. The power to choose your own path. The power to continue growing in the face of resistance. This is the only power that truly matters. It is the power to become who you are. The illumination is now complete. You see the shadow of comparison, the poison of resentment, and the call to mediocrity for what they are, the desperate strategies of a stagnant spirit. They are not reflections of your reality, but of theirs. Armed with this knowledge, their power over you is shattered forever. You are free. Now we can bring all of these threads together. We can rise above the theory and witness the final, beautiful synthesis. This is the aha moment where the metaphor reaches its glorious conclusion and the wisdom becomes a living, breathing part of you. This is the ultimate triumph of the strong mind. The gardener stands in their garden. They are no longer a victim. They are no longer a warrior. They are simply a gardener. The stones still occasionally fly from the neighboring plots, but they no longer register. They land silently on the soft grass or bounce harmlessly off the thick, ancient bark of the tree. The gardener doesn't even turn their head. The tree has grown immense. It is a masterpiece of nature, a testament to decades of unwavering care. Its branches are not just tall, they reach so high they create their own weather system. Its canopy is a world unto itself, home to birds and creatures that have never known the barren ground below. Its strength is no longer about resistance, it's about transcendence. The gardener's focus is total. It is a joyful, meditative state. They are not trying to prove a point. They are not fueled by spite or a need for revenge. They are fueled by a deep, abiding love for their creation, for the process of growth itself. The act of cultivation has become its own reward. The final victory is when you forget there was ever a fight. And here is the most beautiful part. The shadow that the tree casts is no longer a source of resentment. It has grown so large and its canopy so thick that it provides gentle, cooling shade for all the gardens around it. Some of the other gardeners, tired of their barren plots, have even begun to creep into its shade, not with anger, but with a sense of wonder. Some of them, inspired by the great tree, have finally picked up a watering can for the first time. They have started to tend to their own small saplings. They have realized that the answer was never to tear down the great tree, but to learn from it. Your unwavering dedication to your own growth has, without any intention, become the lesson that finally sets them free. This is the final, powerful form of the central thesis. The resistance you faced was never a sign of your weakness. It was a reflection of the light you cast on the shadows others were afraid to leave. And by refusing to dim your light, by having the courage to grow, you ultimately create a light so powerful it not only illuminates your own path, but also shows others the way out of their own darkness. Your strength, which was once seen as a threat, has become a gift. Your growth, which was once a disruption, has become a source of stability and inspiration. You have not changed them. You have simply changed the environment so profoundly that they have been given the opportunity to change themselves. This is the true power of the strong mind. It elevates the world simply by elevating itself. So the story ends not with victory over an enemy, but with the enemy's dissolution. The conflict ceases to exist. There is only the gardener, the garden, and the magnificent, life-giving tree. There is only the endless, joyful process of becoming. This is the peace that lies beyond conflict, a peace that is earned not by fighting, but by growing. This is the aha moment. The moment you realize that the best way to deal with the negativity of the world is to build a life so beautiful, so strong, and so true to yourself that the negativity simply cannot find a way in. Your life becomes the answer. Your growth becomes the argument. Your joy becomes the ultimate, unassailable victory. All the pain, all the doubt, all the struggle has led to this. A profound understanding that sets you free. A strength that is quiet, not loud. A victory that is found in a watering can, not a sword. This is the deep, resonant wisdom of Nietzsche, stripped of its academic complexity and turned into a simple, powerful truth for your own life. Now the metaphor recedes and we turn the light back onto you. The garden is your mind. The tree is your potential, your ambition, your unique spirit. The stones are the criticisms and doubts you face every day. You have stood with the axe in your hand. You have felt the sting of the poison. You have heard the seductive call of the herd. We leave you not with a list of things to do, but with a single, transformative question to carry with you. This question, if you live with it, will guide you through every moment of doubt and every point of resistance. It is the compass that will always point you back to your own true north, back to your own sacred garden. The question is this. In this moment, with this decision, with this word, with this action, am I watering my tree or am I throwing stones at someone else's? Am I focused on my own cultivation or am I distracted by the gardens of others? This question simplifies everything. It cuts through all the noise and reveals the true nature of your choice. Are you spending your precious energy debating with poisoners? Are you shrinking your ambitions to soothe the insecure? Or are you investing that energy into learning a new skill, starting a new project, being kinder to yourself, pushing your own boundaries? Are you tending to your own soul? Be honest with yourself. Where is your focus right now? This question is not about judging others. It is about directing yourself. It is a private inventory, a quiet, personal commitment to your own growth. When you live by this question, you begin to build a life of profound integrity. Your actions, thoughts, and words all align with the single, noble purpose of becoming the best version of yourself. Answering this question honestly will be difficult at times. You will find you are spending more time looking over the fence than you realize. But do not despair. Simply notice it and gently, without judgment, turn your attention back to your own soil. Pick up your watering can. The work is always there, waiting for you. It is patient. This is the new way of being. It is a life defined by active creation rather than passive reaction. It is a life of inner directedness in a world that constantly tries to pull you outward. You become a source, not a reflection. You become an artist of your own life, and your medium is your own potential. Let the world be noisy. Let the stones fly. Let the shadows lengthen and the poisons brew. It does not matter. Inside your garden, there is a sacred task to be done. There is a magnificent being that is waiting to be brought into existence. And you, and only you, are the one who can do it. This is your great and beautiful responsibility. Carry this feeling with you, the quiet confidence of the gardener, the unshakable strength of the great tree, the understanding that resistance is not a barrier but a confirmation. You are on the right path. The path of growth is always the right path. Do not let the fears of others become the boundaries of your own world. Your life is your one and only garden. The time to tend to it is now. The world does not need another stunted tree, another barren plot. It needs your courage. It needs your uniqueness. It needs the magnificent, unapologetic, fully realized masterpiece that only you can grow. So go forward from this moment with a new understanding. The weak do not hate the strong mind. They fear the light it shines on the potential they abandoned. Your growth is not an attack. It is an invitation. An invitation for all to turn their gaze away from the gardens of others and to begin the beautiful, difficult, and sacred work of tending their own. Do not resent them. Do not fight them. Do not even try to teach them. Simply grow. Grow so tall that your perspective changes. Grow so strong that their stones feel like pebbles. Grow so beautiful that your very existence becomes a quiet inspiration. Be the gardener, water your tree, and let your life become the only argument you ever need to make. The courage to cultivate your own spirit in a world that demands conformity is the highest form of strength. It is a quiet rebellion that creates beauty instead of destruction. It is the choice to build your own heaven rather than curse someone else's. And this choice is available to you in every single moment. We hope this has helped you see that.